Dr. Ana Mendez stood in front of the mirror in her small, shared apartment, adjusting her white coat and tying back her curly hair. As she took a deep breath, she reflected on the long journey that had brought her to this moment. Ana had always dreamed of being a surgeon, inspired by her grandmother, who had been a nurse. Growing up in a neighborhood where few people of color were in the medical field, Ana faced numerous obstacles. Still, her determination and passion pushed her forward. Today, she would face yet another challenge. At the hospital, the atmosphere was buzzing with activity. Nurses hurried past, doctors exchanged brief greetings, and the smell of antiseptic filled the air. Ana entered the surgical ward, ready to tackle her duties for the day. Her colleagues, while generally supportive, occasionally whispered about her being one of the few black surgeons in the hospital. It stung, but she had learned to ignore the murmurs, focusing instead on her patients and the work she loved. Just as she settled in, a flurry of movement erupted near the emergency room. A group of doctors and nurses rushed past her, pushing a gurney with a patient covered in blood. The name Marcus floated through the air, and Anna's heart raced. She recognized that name from the patient file she had reviewed earlier. Marcus Carter, a man in his mid-40s, had been involved in a severe car accident. His injuries were extensive, and he needed immediate surgery to save his life. Dr. Mendez, a nurse, called, interrupting her thoughts. "We need you in the operating room. It's urgent." Without hesitation, Ana followed the nurse, her mind racing with the seriousness of the situation. As they approached the operating room, she overheard snippets of conversation. Marcus had a critical head injury and internal bleeding. Time was of the essence. Once in the operating room, Ana quickly donned her gloves and mask, mentally preparing for the procedure. The atmosphere was tense as the surgical team gathered around the table. Anna's heart pounded in her chest, but she was determined to stay focused. This was what she trained for. The anesthesiologist introduced himself and began preparing Marcus for the procedure. As he took the oxygen mask and positioned it over Marcus's face, Anna glanced down at him. His features were rugged, with a few days' worth of stubble and a furrowed brow that spoke of pain. She could see the fear in his eyes, but there was something else there, a flicker of something deeper that she couldn't quite place. "Marcus, you're in safe hands," she said reassuringly, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We're going to take good care of you." Marcus turned his head slightly, his eyes meeting hers. For a brief moment, it seemed as if he wanted to trust her. But then, a flicker of something darker crossed his face. As the anesthesia took effect and Marcus drifted off, Ana took a deep breath, preparing to begin the surgery. But just then, a voice interrupted the silence. "Wait, I don't want her touching me," Marcus shouted, his voice filled with panic. "Get that black woman away from me." The room froze. Anna's heart sank as she felt the weight of his words. She exchanged glances with her colleagues, who seemed taken aback. The tension in the air was palpable, and Ana could sense the eyes of the entire surgical team on her. She had faced discrimination before, but this was different. This was life and death. "Marcus, I understand that you're scared," Ana began, her voice calm and steady, "but I'm the best surgeon for this procedure. Your life depends on this surgery, and I promise to do everything I can to save you." He shook his head defiantly. "No, I don't want a black woman touching me. Get someone else." A few murmurs spread among the surgical team, and Ana felt a mix of anger and hurt wash over her. How could someone be so blinded by hate, especially when his life was on the line? But this was not the time to let emotions take control. She had trained for years, and the patient's life was her priority. Marcus, the lead surgeon, interjected, trying to regain control of the situation. "We need to operate immediately. Your condition is critical. Dr. Mendez is highly qualified, and she's going to help you." Not a chance, Marcus retorted, his voice hoarse. Give me another doctor. Anna clenched her fists, feeling the familiar sting of rejection. She had worked tirelessly to prove herself in a field that often doubted her abilities based on the color of her skin. But this was different. This was personal. Taking a deep breath, she knew she had to find a way to reach him. Marcus, look at me, Anna said, her voice firm but empathetic. I understand you may have fears and biases, but I'm here to save your life. I'm not just a surgeon. I'm a person who cares deeply about my patients. I've dedicated my life to this work, and I promise you that I will do everything in my power to help you. As the tension in the room hung thick, Anna could see the flicker of doubt in Marcus's eyes. He was at a crossroads, caught between his prejudices and the harsh reality of his situation. She sensed that her words had begun to penetrate his armor. But would it be enough to convince him? In that moment, Anna realized she had to fight not just for Marcus's life, but also for the chance to change his perspective. This was not just a surgical procedure. It was an opportunity for growth, understanding, and possibly redemption. She needed to break through the barriers of his racism and show him that they were more alike than he ever thought possible. With the weight of the situation pressing down on her, Anna took another deep breath. Time was running out, and she knew she had to act fast. As she turned to her colleagues, a renewed sense of determination washed over her. This battle was just beginning, and she was ready to fight for not only Marcus's life, but also for the chance to open his heart and mind. The room remained tense as Marcus grappled with the reality of his situation. Anna could see the internal struggle written across his face. It was a mixture of fear, pain, and deep-seated prejudice, all swirling together in a chaotic storm. She felt the weight of his gaze, a mix of anger and uncertainty that hung in the air like a thick fog. Marcus, the lead surgeon said again, his voice steady but insistent, we need to make a decision now. Your life is on the line, and Dr. Mendez is the best surgeon for this job. We can't delay any longer. Marcus looked around the room, searching for someone, anyone, who might support his refusal. The other doctors, though sympathetic, understood the urgency of the situation. Anna felt a flicker of hope as she noticed one of the nurses step forward. Marcus, I know it's hard to accept, but Dr. Mendez has saved many lives, the nurse said, her voice calm and soothing. She's an incredible surgeon, and right now, she's your best chance. But Marcus shook his head violently, the pain etched across his face. I don't want a black woman touching me. His voice was hoarse, filled with desperation. I'd rather die than let her operate on me. Anna's heart ached at his words. How could someone be so filled with hatred that they would choose death over receiving help from a qualified surgeon? The room fell silent again, and for a moment, it felt as though time had stopped. The tension was suffocating, and she could feel the eyes of her colleagues on her, their expressions a mix of concern and support. Taking a step closer to Marcus, Anna tried to break through the barriers he had built around himself. I understand that you're scared and that you have your beliefs, but this is about your life, she said, her voice steady yet compassionate. You have a choice to make, and I want to help you make the right one. Marcus's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, it seemed like he might relent. But the flicker of doubt in his eyes was quickly replaced by stubbornness. I don't need a lecture from you. I need a doctor who looks like me. Anna inhaled sharply, steeling herself against the sting of his words. Marcus, she replied, skin color doesn't define a surgeon's abilities. I have dedicated my life to this profession, and I promise to do everything in my power to save you. The tension in the room thickened as the seconds ticked by. Anna felt the weight of every gaze, every unspoken thought hanging heavily in the air. Would he let her help him, or would he allow his prejudices to dictate his fate? In a desperate attempt to appeal to his humanity, Anna shared a piece of her story. I grew up in a neighborhood where people didn't believe I could become a doctor. I faced discrimination throughout my education, but I persevered because I wanted to make a difference. I want to save lives, regardless of who they belong to. Marcus shifted on the gurney, his expression softening just slightly. For a brief moment, Anna sensed a crack in his armor, a glimmer of vulnerability peeking through the layers of his prejudice. "You don't understand," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "I was raised to believe that people like you don't belong in positions like this. But that's exactly why I'm here," Anna replied, leaning in closer. "To show you that we're all capable of greatness, regardless of our backgrounds. I want to help you see that." Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Marcus looked at her directly. "And if I let you operate on me, what if you fail? What if I die?" Anna felt a pang of empathy. "Then I'll do everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen. But if you don't let me help you, you will die. Those are the stakes." As the reality of her words sank in, Anna could see the internal battle raging within him. This wasn't just about surgery anymore. It was about confronting his biases and understanding that the world was more complex than he had been led to believe. With a shaky breath, Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, as if trying to gather his thoughts. I don't know if I can do this." "It's okay to be afraid," Anna reassured him gently. "But you don't have to do this alone. I'm here, and I want to help you through this." The seconds stretched out as the team waited for Marcus to respond. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he opened his eyes, the fight beginning to fade. "Fine, just do what you have to do." Anna felt a rush of relief wash over her. "Thank you, Marcus. I promise you won't regret this." With a renewed sense of purpose, the team sprang into action. The anesthesiologist readied the medications, and the nurses began to prepare the surgical instruments. As Anna scrubbed in, she felt a surge of determination course through her veins. This was her moment to prove, not just to Marcus, but to herself, that she could rise above prejudice and make a difference. As they began the surgery, Anna focused on every detail, each incision a reminder of the responsibility she bore. She could feel Marcus's presence beneath her hands, and she poured all her skill and compassion into the procedure. In that sterile environment, she was more than just a surgeon. She was a vessel of hope, a bridge across the chasm of ignorance that divided them. With every heartbeat, she reminded herself of the importance of this moment, not just for Marcus, but for everyone who had ever faced prejudice. As the surgery progressed, she knew she was not only saving a life, but also planting the seeds of change in a heart that had been hardened by bias. When the procedure finally concluded and Marcus was stabilized, Anna allowed herself a moment of quiet triumph. She had fought not only for his life, but also against the prejudices that had tried to hold her back. As she walked out of the operating room, she knew that this was just the beginning of a much larger battle. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow across the hospital's sterile walls, Anna felt a mixture of exhaustion and elation wash over her. The surgery had been a success, and Marcus was stable in recovery. She had done her job, but the emotional toll of the day weighed heavily on her mind. When Anna finally stepped into the recovery room, she found Marcus propped up in bed, a frail figure surrounded by machines beeping softly. His eyes were still heavy with sedation, but they flickered open as she approached. For a moment, he stared at her, confusion flickering across his features. "Hey," she greeted him softly, her heart racing with hope. "You're awake. How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck," he mumbled, trying to adjust to the pain. What happened?" "You went through surgery. We fixed the issue," she explained, her voice steady. "You're going to be okay." He shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the 4-line attached to his arm. Did you do it? His tone was cautious, filled with lingering doubt. Anna nodded, maintaining eye contact. Yes, I did. And you came through it like a champ, right? He replied, still skeptical. You did it because you had to, not because you wanted to. The bitterness in his voice stung. Anna took a deep breath, reminding herself that healing was not just physical. It doesn't matter why I did it. What matters is that you're here, alive, and you have a chance to recover. You need to focus on that. Easy for you to say, he shot back, a hint of anger in his voice. You're not the one lying here vulnerable. His words cut deep, and Anna felt a surge of frustration. I get it, Marcus. You're scared, but I'm here to help you, not to hurt you. I chose to do this because I believe in your right to live. Why should I believe that? He challenged, eyes narrowing. You think I can just forget everything I've ever thought? No, but you can choose to change, Anna replied, her tone softening. You can decide to be better than your prejudices. Silence hung heavy between them, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of the machines. Anna watched as Marcus's expression shifted from anger to contemplation. It was a small but significant change, and she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Why do you care so much? He finally asked, his voice quieter now. You don't even know me. Maybe not, she admitted, but I see the person you could become. We all have the power to change our narratives, to rewrite the stories that have been handed to us. You've got a chance to be better, to live without the weight of hatred. He studied her for a moment, the tension in his jaw relaxing just a fraction. I spent my whole life thinking I was right. It's hard to let go of that. I know it is, Anna said, leaning in closer. But change doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey, one step at a time. You took the first step by allowing me to operate on you. Marcus looked away, staring at the window where the last remnants of sunlight were fading. And what if I can't change? What if I'm just a lost cause? None of us are lost causes, Anna insisted. We all have the capacity for growth and understanding. It starts with recognizing our flaws and being willing to confront them. A pause fell between them again, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Slowly, Marcus turned back to her, his expression softer. You really believe that? I do, Anna said firmly, and I'm here to support you through it. But you have to meet me halfway. His eyes flickered with uncertainty. But beneath the surface, Anna could see something shifting, a glimmer of hope, perhaps, or the beginnings of self-awareness. What if I mess up? He asked quietly. Then we try again, Anna replied with a gentle smile. Life is messy, and so is change, but every attempt is a step in the right direction. The two shared a moment of understanding, a connection forming amidst the chaos of their differences. Anna felt her resolve strengthen. This was about more than just a surgery. It was about breaking down walls and healing not just bodies but souls. Okay, Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. I'll try. The sincerity in his words filled Anna with a warmth she hadn't anticipated. That's all I ask. As she began to check his vitals, Anna noticed a change in the atmosphere. The resentment that had previously clouded the room was beginning to lift, replaced by a cautious sense of possibility. She could feel the tension in Marcus slowly dissipating as he let down his guard, if only just a little. Thank you for not giving up on me, he murmured as she finished her checks. Even when I was being a jerk, Anna chuckled softly, her heart lightening. It's what I do. I believe in my patience, no matter what. Maybe you're right, he said, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his voice. Maybe I can change. With that small admission, a new journey began, one filled with challenges and growth. Anna could sense that this was just the beginning, but she was ready for whatever lay ahead. As she stepped out of the recovery room, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. This was more than just a surgical success. It was a chance to make a real difference in someone's life, to show that compassion and understanding could bridge even the deepest divides. But the road to healing was long, and both Anna and Marcus had a lot of work to do. As the night deepened, she prepared herself for the challenges ahead, determined to guide Marcus toward a brighter, more inclusive future. Days passed, and Anna found herself back at the hospital, her heart lighter, yet still cautious. She had spent countless hours in the operating room, pouring her skills into saving lives, but this situation felt different. Every time she entered Marcus's room, a mix of anticipation and apprehension filled her. She knew he was fighting his own demons, and now they were on this journey together. Marcus had begun to show signs of improvement. The bruising around his incision had faded, and he was gradually becoming more mobile, taking his first hesitant steps with the help of a physical therapist. But with each visit, Anna also noticed a familiar struggle brewing beneath the surface. While he had voiced his desire to change, old habits and beliefs were hard to shake off. One afternoon, as Anna prepared to check on him, she overheard a conversation between Marcus and a nurse. "I just don't get why I need to do these exercises. I'm not some charity case," he grumbled, frustration evident in his tone. "You're not a charity case, Marcus. You're recovering from major surgery," the nurse replied calmly. "This is essential for your healing process." Anna stepped into the room, her heart sinking at his words. "Hey, Marcus, how are you feeling today?" "Like I'm wasting my time," he snapped, crossing his arms defiantly. "This is pointless," Anna sighed, sensing that the weight of his past was pressing down on him once again. "It might feel that way, but it's an important part of getting back to your life. You can't just sit back and hope everything will be fine." "Easy for you to say," he retorted, glaring at her. "You're not the one who has to struggle through this." "I understand it's tough," she said gently, meeting his gaze. "But I believe you can do this. You've already taken significant steps forward." "Steps forward?" he scoffed. "You mean steps back into a world I don't want to be a part of?" "Why don't you want to be part of it?" Anna asked, genuinely curious. "What scares you about facing your life?" He hesitated, the anger fading as uncertainty crept in. I don't want to be someone I'm not. I've spent my entire life believing what I believed. What if I change and lose myself?" "Change doesn't mean losing who you are," Anna explained. "It means evolving into a better version of yourself. We're all constantly changing, whether we realize it or not. You have the power to shape your future." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, clearly torn. "I don't know if I can. What if I fail?" "Failure is part of growth," Anna reassured him. "You're not alone in this. I'm here to help you through it, but you have to be willing to try." He looked away, his gaze focused on the floor. "I've hurt a lot of people, Anna. I've said things I can't take back. What if I can't make amends?" "Making amends starts with acknowledging the hurt you've caused and being willing to change," she said softly. "You can't undo the past, but you can take steps to create a better future." The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Anna could see the inner battle raging within him, an intense struggle between who he was and who he wanted to become. This was not just about physical healing. It was about breaking down the barriers of a lifetime. "Maybe I don't even deserve to change," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "Everyone deserves a chance at redemption," Anna said firmly. "You're here now, alive, and with a choice to make. Don't deny yourself the opportunity to become better." Marcus looked up, and for the first time, she saw a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "You really think I can do it?" "I know you can," Anna replied, smiling encouragingly. "But it starts with taking responsibility for your actions and moving forward one step at a time." As the conversation shifted, they discussed his recovery plan, and she could see a subtle shift in his demeanor. The anger that had once clouded his expression was beginning to give way to contemplation. It was a small victory, but she knew it was a crucial one. Over the next few days, Marcus began to engage more with his physical therapy. With each exercise, he fought against his doubts, pushing himself to embrace the process. Anna continued to be there, supporting him every step of the way, offering encouragement and guidance. Their conversations deepened, and slowly, they began to break down the walls that had divided them. One afternoon, as Anna assisted him with his exercises, she noticed a change in his approach. "You're actually doing this," she remarked, watching him push through the discomfort. "I guess I am," he said, breathless but determined. "Maybe you were right about taking responsibility." "Of course I am," she teased lightly. "It's my job to be right." They shared a laugh, the tension in the air dissipating further. For the first time, Anna felt a sense of camaraderie building between them, a bond forged through vulnerability and the willingness to change. But she also knew this journey was far from over. The scars of his past were still there, and as Marcus faced his recovery, he would need to confront not just the physical pain, but the emotional baggage he carried. The road ahead would be challenging, but Anna was determined to walk it alongside him. That night, as Anna left the hospital, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She had witnessed the beginnings of a transformation, and while she understood that change was a gradual process, she couldn't help but feel optimistic about the future. Marcus had started to take the steps necessary to rewrite his story, and Anna was committed to supporting him every step of the way. It was just the beginning, and she hoped that together, they could unravel the complexities of their pasts and pave a new path toward understanding and acceptance. As the days rolled on, Anna and Marcus continued their journey together, inching closer toward a mutual understanding. Anna could feel the shift in Marcus, his resolve strengthening with each passing therapy session. Yet, she was acutely aware that the road to recovery wasn't solely paved with physical exercises. It demanded emotional labor as well. One afternoon, Anna entered Marcus's room to find him staring out the window, lost in thought. The sunlight cast a warm glow across his face, illuminating the contours of his features, which were now softened by the vulnerability he had begun to show. "Hey, deep thinker," she said, trying to lighten the mood. "What's on your mind?" "Just thinking about my life before all this," Marcus replied, his voice low. "It feels so distant now, but at the same time, it's like I can still smell the smoke from the fires I've started." Anna could sense the weight of his memories pressing down on him. "You've made some mistakes, Marcus. We all have. But what matters is what you choose to do next." He turned to her, his expression earnest. "Do you think it's really possible for someone like me to change?" "Absolutely," Anna affirmed. "Change isn't just for the good people. It's for everyone who's willing to put in the work. But you have to confront the parts of your past that hold you back." With a heavy sigh, he sat back against his pillows. "I've hurt people. I've said things that can't be taken back. What if they can't forgive me?" "Forgiveness is a complex journey," Anna explained. "Sometimes it takes a long time for others to come to terms with their feelings. But you can start by showing them that you're different now." "I don't even know where to begin," Marcus admitted, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "I'm scared of what people will think when they see me like this." Anna leaned against the wall, trying to understand the turmoil inside him. "What's scarier, facing your past or living in fear of it forever?" He looked down, contemplating her words. "I guess living in fear feels worse. But I can't just walk up to people and say, 'Hey, I'm sorry for being a jerk for most of my life.'" "Maybe not like that, but starting with honesty can be powerful," Anna suggested. "You could reach out to people you've wronged and express how you feel." "Like who?" He shot back, skepticism etched across his face. "Think about it. Who do you feel you owe an apology to?" She pressed gently. Marcus thought for a moment, his brows furrowing. There's this one guy, Jeremy. We had a huge fight years ago because I said some pretty horrible things about him. He was just trying to be a friend. Then reach out to him. You could write him a letter or send a message. Anna encouraged. It's never too late to make things right. Easy for you to say, he grumbled, crossing his arms defensively. I don't even know if he'll want to hear from me. True, but what if he does? Anna countered, her eyes locking onto his. What if reaching out brings you both some closure? Closure, he repeated, the word heavy on his tongue. What if he tells me to screw off? Then you'll know that you tried. And that's what matters, Anna said firmly. Taking that step shows that you're ready to own up to your actions. As the conversation deepened, Anna shared her own experiences of facing her past mistakes. How admitting her own shortcomings had been challenging, but ultimately freeing. I once had a patient I struggled to connect with. It took me admitting my faults to finally understand her pain. She shared, her voice warm with empathy. Marcus listened intently, absorbing her words. How did it turn out? It was tough at first, but our relationship grew stronger once I was honest with her. We learned from each other, Anna replied, a smile touching her lips. And I learned that vulnerability can create a bridge where there once was a divide. That's powerful, he said quietly. I never thought about it like that. Change requires courage, she continued, leaning in closer. But I believe you have what it takes. I'll think about it, he said after a pause, the wheels in his mind clearly turning. Maybe I will reach out to Jeremy. That's the spirit. Anna cheered, her eyes shining with encouragement. Remember, it's all part of your journey. The following days saw Marcus take those first tentative steps toward reconciliation. With Anna's support, he began drafting a message to Jeremy. Each word felt like a weight lifted off his shoulders. The act of reaching out was daunting, but the prospect of finding closure was worth it. One evening, as they sat in his hospital room, Marcus read aloud the message he had written. I just want to say I'm sorry for everything that happened between us. I was an idiot, and I know that now. I hope you can forgive me. Anna nodded, beaming with pride. That's beautifully honest. You're ready for this, Marcus? He swallowed hard, his vulnerability palpable. What if he doesn't respond? Then you'll have to be patient, Anna replied, her voice steady. Just know that you did what you could, and that's a significant step forward. As days passed, Marcus awaited Jeremy's response with a mix of hope and dread. Anna continued to visit, providing encouragement and support. They spoke about everything, his recovery, the past, and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Their bond deepened as they navigated this challenging terrain together. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a notification appeared on Marcus's phone. His heart raced as he opened the message. It was from Jeremy. The words were simple yet powerful. I appreciate your honesty. Let's talk. Tears sprang to Marcus's eyes. He wants to talk, he whispered, disbelief flooding his voice. See? You took that brave step, and it's paying off, Anna exclaimed, her excitement palpable. This is your chance to move forward. Marcus smiled, the weight of uncertainty lifting slightly as hope began to bloom within him. With Anna by his side, he felt ready to face not just his past, but also the future. The journey was far from over, but together they were uncovering a path filled with possibilities. Possibilities that could lead to redemption, healing, and a life well lived. The sun streamed through the window as Marcus read Jeremy's message once more. It felt surreal. The apprehension that had filled him just days before now mingled with a flicker of hope. As he prepared for their meeting, he couldn't help but replay the events of the past few weeks in his mind. The awakening of his consciousness, the friendship blossoming with Anna, and the tentative steps he was taking to own up to his mistakes. Anna entered the room just as he finished reading the message again, a wide smile on her face. "Hey, you look like you've seen a ghost. What's going on?" "I'm meeting Jeremy tomorrow," he replied, his voice a mixture of excitement and fear. "He wants to talk?" "That's fantastic news," Anna exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "How do you feel about it?" "I don't know," he confessed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm scared. What if he's still angry? What if he won't forgive me?" "Those feelings are completely normal," she said, settling down in the chair next to his bed. "But think about how far you've come. This is about taking responsibility and showing him the man you are now." "Yeah, I get that," he said, nodding slowly. "But it's so much easier to hide behind the walls I built. Facing him means confronting my past mistakes head-on." "That's the point," Anna encouraged. "This is your chance to take ownership of your actions. Remember, you can't control how others respond, but you can control your intentions." Marcus took a deep breath, her words settling in. "You're right. I need to be honest. I can't keep running away from the past." With the promise of tomorrow weighing heavily on his mind, Marcus spent the rest of the day preparing for the meeting. He practiced what he wanted to say, crafting apologies and explanations in his head. It felt cathartic, but a lingering doubt nagged at him. What if it wasn't enough? The next day dawned, bright and clear. With each hour, his anticipation grew until the moment finally arrived. Jeremy stepped into Marcus's hospital room, a tall figure with a serious expression. They locked eyes, and for a moment, silence enveloped them, filled with unspoken history. "Hey, Marcus," Jeremy said, his voice steady but soft. "Thanks for reaching out." "Thanks for coming," Marcus replied, his voice tinged with nervousness. He gestured toward the chair across from him. "Please have a seat." Jeremy sat down, the weight of their past heavy in the air. "I'll be honest, I wasn't sure I wanted to hear from you." "I completely understand," Marcus said, his heart racing. "I messed up. I was a jerk, and I'm sorry for everything I said and did." Jeremy regarded him for a moment, his expression unreadable. "It was more than just words, Marcus. You hurt me, and I've carried that for a long time." "I know," Marcus replied, a lump forming in his throat. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since my accident. I realized how blind I was to the damage I caused. I didn't just hurt you. I hurt myself too. I've had a lot of time to think too," Jeremy said, his voice calmer now. "You weren't just a friend. You were someone I looked up to. It stung when you turned against me. I regret that every day," Marcus admitted, his voice shaking slightly. "I was so caught up in my own issues that I couldn't see how my actions affected you. I'm truly sorry." The room fell silent again as Jeremy processed Marcus's words. The air felt thick with tension, but there was also a flicker of understanding in Jeremy's gaze. "I appreciate your honesty," he finally said, "but forgiveness isn't something I can just give away." "I know it'll take time," Marcus said, desperation creeping into his voice. "But I want to show you that I'm trying to change. I don't want to be that person anymore. Why should I believe you?" Jeremy challenged, crossing his arms. "You've hurt others before. What's different this time?" "I can't expect you to trust me right away," Marcus acknowledged. "But I'm committed to making things right, starting with you. I've been working on myself. I want to make amends, not just for you, but for everyone I've hurt." "I hope that's true," Jeremy replied, his expression softening just a bit. "I want to see you make better choices. Just give me a chance," Marcus pleaded. "If you're willing to keep talking, I promise I won't waste it." Jeremy leaned back, considering. "We'll see. This is going to take time. Trust isn't built overnight." Marcus nodded, relief flooding through him. "I get it. I'm here for the long haul." They continued their conversation, discussing their past and the hurt that lingered between them. As they shared their perspectives, Marcus realized how much pain had been locked away inside him, surfacing in moments like this. He began to understand that the path to healing wasn't just about apologies, It was about rebuilding bridges and forging connections. Hours later, as their conversation came to a close, Marcus felt lighter, a sense of hope replacing the heavy weight that had settled on his chest for so long. "Thank you for listening," he said, sincerity ringing in his voice. "It means more than you know." "I'll keep in touch," Jeremy replied, standing to leave. "But remember, this is just the first step." As Jeremy walked out, Marcus turned to see Anna leaning against the doorframe, a proud smile on her face. "You did it. You faced him." "I did," Marcus said, exhilaration bubbling up inside him. "And it felt good." "You took the first step in a long journey," she said, stepping closer. "You're not alone in this. Remember that." In that moment, Marcus knew he was on a path toward redemption, a journey that would continue to challenge him, but also empower him to become the man he was meant to be. With Anna by his side, he felt ready to confront not only the shadows of his past, but also the possibilities of a brighter future. Days turned into weeks, and each day brought with it a new sense of purpose for Marcus. With Anna's support, he began to engage in community outreach programs, sharing his story and advocating for racial equality and understanding. He spoke at schools, attended town hall meetings, and even participated in panels addressing racism and discrimination in healthcare. His newfound passion ignited something within him that he had buried for far too long. Each time he shared his experience, he could see the impact it had on others. People were listening, and some were even moved to share their own stories. It was a powerful cycle of healing, one that gave him a renewed sense of hope and responsibility. Despite the progress, Marcus still faced the shadows of his past. He often thought of Jeremy, wondering if their fragile connection could grow stronger over time. They exchanged messages occasionally, and Jeremy had started attending some of the same events, albeit hesitantly. Marcus felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation every time he spotted Jeremy in the audience, unsure of what kind of reception he would receive. One afternoon, as Marcus prepared for another speaking engagement at a local high school, he received an unexpected message from Jeremy. "Hey, I'd like to come to your talk tonight. Can I join?" Marcus stared at the screen, his heart racing. He hadn't expected Jeremy to attend, and the thought of speaking in front of him filled him with a blend of excitement and dread. "Of course, I'd love to have you there," he replied, trying to keep his response casual. That evening, as the auditorium filled with students, Marcus felt the familiar flutter of nerves in his stomach. He had prepared diligently, wanting to deliver a message that resonated with the young audience. As he stepped onto the stage, he caught sight of Jeremy in the back row, a reassuring nod encouraging him to move forward. "Good evening, everyone," Marcus began, his voice steady despite the thrumming of his heart. "I'm here to share my story, but more importantly, to discuss the journey we're all on, one that calls for understanding, empathy, and change." As he spoke, he could feel the connection growing with the audience. He shared not only his mistakes but also the lessons learned and the importance of embracing diversity and confronting bias. The more he shared, the more he saw the students lean in, their expressions shifting from curiosity to contemplation. After he finished, the applause filled the room, and Marcus felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with gratitude. He spotted Jeremy standing, a proud smile on his face. The sight brought warmth to his heart, a tangible reminder of the growth they both had experienced. Following the talk, Marcus opened the floor for questions. Hands shot up eagerly, students seeking answers and wanting to engage. As he addressed their questions, he noticed Jeremy making his way through the crowd, his eyes intent on Marcus. When it was over, Marcus stepped down from the stage, feeling exhilarated. "Great job, Marcus!" Anna beamed, wrapping him in a tight hug. "You connected with them." "Thanks, Anna. It feels good to share and help others see a different perspective, he replied, still riding the high from the experience. Just then, Jeremy approached, a look of sincerity in his eyes. You were amazing up there, he said, extending a hand. I'm glad I came. Marcus shook Jeremy's hand, feeling a sense of camaraderie grow between them. Thanks, man. It means a lot that you were here. I've been doing some thinking, Jeremy began, his tone serious, about everything you've shared in our past. I'm starting to realize how blind I've been too. Really? Marcus said, surprised but encouraged. What do you mean? I've seen the way you've changed, how you're using your voice for good, Jeremy explained. It's made me question my own beliefs and biases. I want to be better too. Marcus's heart swelled at Jeremy's words. That's a huge step. It's not easy, but acknowledging it is the first part of the journey. Yeah, Jeremy nodded. I want to learn more, understand what it's like for you and others who face these challenges. Maybe we can work together? The offer surprised Marcus, but it filled him with hope. I'd love that. We can set up some discussions, maybe even collaborate on outreach efforts. As they spoke, the weight of their past seemed to lift, replaced by the potential of a shared future. They discussed ideas, planning ways to engage more with the community and encourage open conversations about race and identity. As the evening wound down, Marcus felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. He had faced the man he had hurt, and rather than a wall of resentment, he found an ally willing to learn and grow alongside him. Their shared journey was just beginning, and for the first time, he believed in the possibility of redemption not just for himself, but for others as well. As they left the auditorium together, Marcus looked at Jeremy and felt a bond forming, one built on mutual respect and the commitment to create a better future. It was a reminder that change was possible, and it often started with a simple conversation. Let's keep this going, Jeremy said, a newfound determination in his voice. Absolutely, Marcus replied, feeling more empowered than ever. Together, we can make a difference. As the sun rose on the day of the community event, Marcus felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. It was a significant moment, marking not just his journey of healing, but also a new chapter in his life and the lives of those around him. The event aimed to foster dialogue about race and healthcare, encouraging people to share their experiences and thoughts in an open, respectful environment. Marcus arrived early to help set up, feeling the energy of anticipation in the air. He spotted Anna and Jeremy already coordinating the seating arrangements and ensuring that everything was ready. The auditorium buzzed with a sense of hope, as if the walls themselves absorbed the stories and struggles that would be shared. Hey, ready for today? Anna asked, her enthusiasm infectious. Yeah, I think so, Marcus replied, glancing around. It feels different this time. Because it is different, Anna encouraged. You've grown so much, and now you're helping others grow too. Just remember, you're not alone in this. As attendees began to trickle in, Marcus felt his heart race. He recognized faces, friends, colleagues, and even some who had attended his previous talks. Each one represented a thread in the tapestry of change he was trying to weave. He and Jeremy had planned for a discussion panel where they would share their stories and experiences, emphasizing the importance of empathy and understanding. When the event officially began, Marcus took a deep breath and stepped to the front of the room. He could see Jeremy sitting among the audience, his presence a comforting anchor. Thank you all for being here today, Marcus began, his voice steady and clear. Today isn't just about me. It's about all of us coming together to share and learn from one another. He shared his journey, recounting the moment that changed his life, the surgery on the racist patient who, against all odds, had transformed into an ally. As he spoke, he saw the impact of his words reflected in the audience's expressions. They listened intently, many nodding in understanding. After his introduction, Marcus invited Jeremy to join him on stage. Jeremy and I have shared a unique journey. We come from different backgrounds, but we've found common ground through understanding and growth, he explained. With a slight hesitation, Jeremy took the mic, his voice softer than Marcus's but filled with sincerity. I used to think that racism was just something that didn't affect me personally, he admitted, glancing at Marcus. But seeing the consequences of my actions and how they hurt others opened my eyes. I want to do better. The audience remained engaged, asking questions and sharing their own experiences. Conversations flowed freely, weaving through stories of pain, redemption, and hope. Each shared experience became a stepping stone toward healing. And as the hours passed, Marcus felt the weight of the past lifting, replaced by a sense of unity. As the event drew to a close, Marcus felt a profound sense of accomplishment. People lingered, exchanging contact information and discussing ways to continue the conversation. It was more than he had hoped for, and he realized this was just the beginning. Later that evening, as they gathered for a small celebration with Anna and other supporters, Marcus reflected on how far he had come. He felt lighter, not just because of the success of the event, but also due to the transformation he had witnessed in others. The connections formed that day ignited a spark of hope within him. "Marcus, you really did it," Anna said, raising her glass in a toast. "You've changed lives today." "Thank you, Anna. I couldn't have done it without you and Jeremy," he replied, looking at them both with gratitude. "This is just the start. We need to keep this momentum going." Jeremy nodded, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "I'm in. We can organize more events, start a community group. Let's keep talking." As the group discussed future plans, Marcus felt a sense of belonging wash over him. The journey he had begun felt less like an uphill battle and more like a collective effort to create lasting change. Each person in the room was a vital part of that movement. Later that night, as Marcus lay in bed, he couldn't help but smile at the thought of how much had changed. He thought of his past, the hurt he had experienced, and how it had led him to this moment of hope and renewal. He remembered the man on the operating table, the fear, and the eventual understanding. He realized that redemption wasn't just about him. It was about everyone. In the days that followed, Marcus and Jeremy began to work together more closely, developing initiatives aimed at fostering understanding and empathy within the community. They hosted workshops, created support groups, and encouraged open dialogue, bridging gaps that had long divided them. As Marcus continued his surgical practice, he approached each patient with newfound empathy, knowing that everyone carried their own story. The lessons he had learned shaped his interactions, guiding him to connect with patients on a deeper level. He realized that healing extended beyond physical ailments. It encompassed the emotional and social struggles that many face daily. Months passed, and the community events grew larger, attracting more attendees and sparking conversations that rippled through the town. Marcus stood before crowds, not just as a surgeon, but as a catalyst for change. He had embraced his role in the narrative, advocating for justice and equality while supporting others on their journeys. With each passing day, he felt more empowered. He wasn't just a survivor of his past. He was a leader and an advocate, inspiring others to rise above their circumstances. He had turned his pain into purpose, proving that change was possible, even when it seemed unattainable. As he looked to the future, Marcus knew that there would always be challenges to face. But he also knew that he was not alone. Together with Jeremy, Anna, and the community they had built, he believed they could create a world where understanding prevailed over hate, and where empathy was the foundation of every interaction. The journey continued, and Marcus felt ready to embrace it with open arms. It was a new beginning, one filled with hope, transformation, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. David Hoka la tête d'un air pensif. Tu as raison. Nous devons nous assurer que tout le monde se sente habilité à partager ses expériences. Créons des initiatives de sensibilisation spécifiques pour engager le dialogue avec ceux qui peuvent se sentir exclus. Ensemble, ils ont mis au point de ateliers destinés aux groupes marginalisés, les invitant à partager leurs histoires et à s'engager dans le dialogue. Les ateliers ont été accueillis avec enthousiasme, car les participants se sont sentis valorisés et entendus. Il est devenu évident que la communauté communique à guérir et que la confiance se rétablissait lentement. En réfléchissant à son parcours, David a réalisé le chemin parcouru depuis 6 jours fatidiques où il a été accusé à tort. Il en était plus seulement une victime. Il était un leader, un voix pour le changement et un défenseur de la justice. L'expérience élevée transforme et il était déterminé à poursuivre le combat. Un soir tranquille, alors que David était assis sur son porche en train de réfléchir aux progrès réalisés, Illinois a reçu un appel du chef de la police. Le chef exprime le désir de le rencontrer et de discuter de moyens d'améliorer les relations avec la communauté. David a été surpris, mais a ressenti un lueur d'espoir. Je serais ravi de vous rencontrer, a-t-il répondu, le cœur battant d'impatience. La réunion est devenue un moment charnière dans le parcours de David. Alors qu'ils étaient assis l'un en face de l'autre, le chef a reconnu les problèmes systémiques qui affligent leur communauté depuis bien trop longtemps. Ils ont discuté de moyens de favoriser la collaboration, soulignant la nécessité de la participation de la communauté aux stratégies policières. David a quitté la réunion avec un optimisme prudent. Même si la route à parcourir était semée d'embûches, il croyait un véritable dialogue et un engagement en faveur du changement pourraient conduire à des réformes significatives. On lui a rappelé que la lutte pour la justice était en cours, mais tu es chaque pas. ILS se rapprochant d'un avenir au chaque individu, quel que soit son origine, pourrait se sentir en sécurité et valorise. Alors que le soleil se couchait, projetant un lueur chaleureuse sur l'horizon, David a ressenti un sentiment renouvelé d'objectif. Il faisait partie de quelque chose de plus grand. Un mouvement alimenté par la résilience, la solidarité et la conviction inébranlable que le changement était non seulement possible mais essentiel. Ensemble, ils continueront à faire pression pour la justice. En veillant ainsi que les luttes du passé ne définissent pas leur avenir.